It's the story that nobody can shut up about, the crisis among young men. I'm your host, Grace Weinstein, and I'm always trying to talk about your masculinity. Narratives have gotten out of hand when it comes to this election, and yeah, that always happens, so big whoop. But what is the difference this time? We are focusing on young male voters. What are they thinking? What are they up to? Obviously, who are they going to vote for? And it's like nobody can figure it out for some reason. I decided to come to Georgia and test some theories for myself. Georgia's kind of ground zero of all of the interesting things in this election for me. Abortion rights, voter suppression or voting rights, depending on who you ask. Race, hurricane relief. We've got big cities. We've got rural counties. It's just a real mix of everything. And Georgia is actually the perfect place to zoom in on the different male voting blocks. You've got these white, traditional, Christian, conservative Trump voters. You all know who I'm talking about. But you also have the black men that have been a Democratic stronghold for forever. Certainly predates me being alive. And those groups both have their own motivations. So because the media has decided recently that they're obsessed with focusing on black men not voting, I decided to put that theory to the test. I wonder about Barack Obama got on stage the other day and he was kind of finger wagging and chastising young black men about showing up. Do you think that will motivate young black men specifically, or will that kind of backfire?
I think that there's a misplaced conception that black men are not voting. Black men are the second most dedicated voting bloc in the country. Black women voted 90%, black men voted 80%. And then there's a 55% of white women and then 27% of white men. And so to say somebody who makes a high B is not doing enough when you got people making, low Fs and they didn't even get their name right, 27%, I think it's misplaced.
What do you think the demands of young men are? I really struggle to figure out what they want. What do you think they're looking for, and how do you think you can activate that within them?
They want to be heard. And I think that we forgot about 2020 and why so many young black men were outside. When you talk about those issues, the broken promises from the last major election, John Lewis Voting Rights Act, George Floyd Justice Policing Act, student loans not being fully forgiven, I think there are a lot of that pushback. But I also think they're tired of older people telling them what to do. And I think that by chastising them, you only create more resentment.
One of the things that's happening between men and women right now is women are getting much more liberal and men generally are becoming more conservative. What do you think the reason for that is? Like, is there one thing? Is it just a mood, a general mood about the country? What is the contributor to that?
I don't think black men are becoming more conservative. We've always been conservative. But we're not going to trade that conservatism for racism or an attempt to erase our history. So I think that maybe the general mood of the country in certain sectors are becoming more conservative while women are becoming more liberal because their rights are being taken away in real time. But I think black men understand that rights are being taken away, and they know that if they come for a woman's reproductive rights, it's not too far off that they're going to come for our lives. They're going to come for our voting rights. They're going to try to erase our history. So I think we recognize all of that. We're having that conversation, a robust conversation out loud on social media. And I think politicians need to listen to that and actually do what the people say they should do.
The information sphere is just clouded with crap, and far-right male voices are really dominating a lot of the airwaves. You can disagree with me. There's a lot of radicalizing of young men that's going on that I'm seeing it in my sphere. So how do you kind of move the radicalizing darker forces out and make sure that young men specifically are getting good info?
Right now, in a lot of right-wing spheres, the emotion that's tied there is hate. And we have to fight hate with love. We have to fight hate with hope. And so in the information that I gather, I always fact check it. And I tell people, fact check in the comments, because the engagement is driving the top item that's being highlighted.
Donald Trump said at a dinner, he didn't know that men could get their period until he saw Tim Walz. Do you think that the winner of this election is going to help craft what vision of masculinity this country has moving forward?
Usually the weakest man in the room is the one that's insulting people. Because again, if you insult people all the time, I come from Southwest Atlanta. If you insult me over and over again, it's going to be a fight. And so I think that as a middle-aged man who's gone through his adolescence and understands that you have to be balanced in your assessment of what a real man is, You don't insult people. And so I think that this election will go a long way into determining what the ideal for a man is.
Okay, so I want you to keep that answer in your head because I asked the same question to a young white guy 90 minutes away at the University of Georgia in Athens. Yeah, I think there's like definitely two different visions of masculinity when you look at the presidential race. Like you've got Donald Trump who emphasizes like strength is about a lot about domination. And then you've got like someone like Tim Walz on the other side who is a very different version of masculinity than definitely Republicans like are used to. What kind of message do you think people are taking away from those two things in conflict?
Tim Walz may be more of a more soft-spoken person, maybe less masculine, I guess you could say, but Donald Trump is the more masculine guy, you could say, but he speaks volume. So it's like, which one are you kind of going to lean towards? Would you like somebody that's not, I don't know, I guess, as masculine, but you're comfortable around, or would you like the more masculine person, but you know stuff's going to get done, I guess you could say?
There's a lot of concerns around about whether people in the U.S. and on the world stage will be able to respect a woman if she is president. And, you know, I know a lot of guys and, like, love the men in my life who I think somewhere in the back of their head, they're like, I don't know if I can vote for a woman to be president. Do you think that that's like a true sense that a lot of people are thinking in the back of their heads?
I think so. I mean, look at history. We've never had a woman president, and I'm not to say that a woman president couldn't get the job done. I just don't think this one could get the job done. I think masculinity has like such a strong value on a world stage that you need somebody more masculine just to like almost like put a sense of fear in, I guess. I don't know. I obviously see like there is roles for women in these jobs. Like I'm not saying this is strictly a man's job like that. I'm not saying that, but I think there's just definitely needs to, women are better at some things and men are better at some things. And I think that's just like, there's positions for women to be in and that's fine.
There's actually studies of this being, women are going like this towards being more liberal and men are becoming much more conservative. Yeah. Has that caused like any rifts with the women in your life?
Not in my own personal life. I mean, all of my friends, like I have friends that are Democrat, liberal, and then I have friends that are Republicans, and like there's no like bad tension or vibes between us. And it's like we respect each other's opinions. Like, no, I don't agree with the things that you're voting for. You don't agree with things that I'm voting for. And that's perfectly fine. Though something may not go your way or like, you know, things like that. We're all people at the end of the day. Like, okay, it's an election, it's 4 years, somebody's next is going to come along and you're going to do the whole cycle over and over again. So
now after this experience, I'm like, two types of masculinity stand before me. But there's only one type moving forward in America's hands. Will it be the vision that's currently upheld by the Republican Party, which is this domineering, oftentimes interested in humiliation, revenge, show no weakness, show no cracks under the surface? Or will they follow the side that the Democrats have set out, the softer side of masculinity, that it's okay to wear your heart on your sleeve, put your emotions on the table with people when you need to? A party that may just be able to cope with having a woman as their leader. But as we sit at this crossroads of masculinity, one question that is just burning inside of me every day is how the hell are women going to fit into this equation? You know, I didn't really know what that could or should look like until I heard this.
I come from a family, I have two brothers and a father who are good men, who have always lived up to the ideal of masculinity as one of protection and confidence and intentionality, but it's never been at my expense. It's never been at my mother's expense. It's never been at my sister's expense or their daughter's expense. True masculinity understands that you do what's best for us, not best for you. Donald Trump would turn that on its head, and more importantly, he intends to codify it. So let's be clear. His rhetoric now becomes policy if he wins. This isn't pie-in-the-sky ideas. They've written it down. They've told us what they want to do, and we've actually seen it in action. I was in a conversation today about the fact that more than 100 women have faced near-death experiences across this country because they cannot get reproductive care. And the doctors don't know if they can help them. The lawyers tell them, well, I'm not sure you can have this help. Women have died in Georgia because the doctors couldn't figure out the law. If the doctors don't know what to do, how in the world is a woman supposed to know? And that comes back to men, because a woman brought you into the world. The highest form of masculinity is being willing to protect her life by knowing that you don't get everything you want so that she can get something she needs.
So boys, I'm watching you. Women are watching you. And the outcome of this election could very much be decided by you. Make sure you're subscribed to WTF America so we can work through this together.